Behind every undeniable brand are strategies most people never see. Until now. Each week, we're ripping open the playbooks of world-class innovators who've built massive communities from scratch. Real people, real results, real systems you can implement today. I'm Kendall LeJeune, and this is Tribe Tracks. Joining us on the show today is Logan Swanson. Logan Swanson is a land investor, deal funder, podcaster, and land marketer. He owns Prime Land Exchange, Land Partner Funding, and is the host of the Land Fixer podcast. After 6 years in the industry, Logan has plenty of hard-earned land knowledge to spread around. Please welcome Logan Swanson. So, Logan, I'm so interested to talk to you about how you have built your brand, how you allow that to help to support your business and how you use that in your business model. So can you tell us a little bit about your business model first?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Kendall. For my brands, I actually have a few of them, but they're all, as far as real estate goes, they're all based around the same product or category of real estate, which is land. So I have my land flipping and marketing company, which is called Prime Land Exchange. We have a company where we're funding land flips and subdivisions and developments. That's called Land Partner Funding. And I've found that I'm interacting with the same two categories of people. One of them is going to be my land buyers, and one of them is going to be my land sellers. I wanted to have a marketing brand that would allow me to interact with both of them and connect more deeply, as well as having a natural content channel to grab from. So that's when I came up with the Land Fixer, which is my podcast, and it's a separate entity that allows me to really just discuss land in general. Um, there's just a lot of nerdy stuff around it that I really enjoy, whether it's like, what does a surveyor actually do, or soil types, or things of that nature, as well as have guests like, you've been on my podcast, guests that are just real minded, maybe educators or fellow funders, fellow investors, things like that. And what it does is it allows me to have this big pool of content to draw from, create clips, link back to, as well as share and create a bunch of backlinks to my website.
Yeah, I love that. Super smart. Now, for the audience that's listening right now who have no clue what a land business is, can you give us a 30,000 foot view of what a traditional land business is? Because then I want to talk about what you're doing differently from other land businesses, because you are approaching it in a little bit of a different way, particularly on the marketing side. And can you talk a little bit about what a land business is from a 30,000 foot view?
Yeah, the kind of standard cut model of a land business or a land flipping business um, is really, it could be as small as the individual or usually a small team of two or three people that buy and sell land professionally. So they are buying off market land. They're reaching directly out to landowners, typically people who do not have their property listed. They're buying that property at a discount and then they're reselling it. The reselling side is where my marketing company comes in, but there's a lot of sort of standard traditional ways to do that marketing. Some folks just list it with a realtor. Some folks are going to use some of the paid subscription services to list their property, like lands.com, Landflip, put it up on Zillow, whatever else. And then one of the biggest, surprisingly, the highest converting sales strategies or marketing channels for most land investors is just Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. I don't know. I haven't used that in a long time, but I do believe people are still using Craigslist to sell land. But all of these have inherent flaws that I've had to work around, and it ended up resulting in a new marketing channel that I created, which is Prime Land Exchange, where my goal is not just to list and sell an individual property, but how do I create a brand and build and nurture a large audience that is a segment that doesn't really exist anywhere else. So I have my own in-house audience that people can tap into by listing on my service.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, can you talk a little bit about what prompted you to start your podcast?
Mhm. Yeah. So, well, there's actually a lot of reasons. One, I've really just, I don't know. I guess I'm just like every other person that wants to yell into a microphone for some reason. I've always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed conversation. I've always enjoyed connecting with people. And that's a great way to do it. Hey, would you want to be on my podcast? No, then all of a sudden you can have a conversation with somebody, and guide it and even script it a little bit if you want. So got that fun aspect to it that I really enjoy. But overall, I ran so my marketing company, Prime Land Exchange, is in its version two. Version one was social media marketing. I would take people's land, I would create custom ads, and then run those ads to custom segments and all this work, a crazy amount of work. And what I learned was in any sort of marketing endeavor, you need content. In this world, in this day and age, you need an abundance of content. And I spent a lot of money and a lot of time building a lot of content for a lot of people. And it resulted in a big audience and some brand recognition out in the world and a big buyers list. And it had very good tangible results, but it was just endless. It was endless. And what I didn't really like is the trends in marketing are always shifting a little bit. So I had a marketing company that was running my marketing for me. I would give them insight and tell them how to do it for land. But ultimately, in this day and age, marketing is really about like pursuit of virality. Like, how do I make a viral clip or a viral moment, or how do I put an ad together that's going to increase my CPM by 10x or something like that? So what happens is instead of having this really like clear, consistent brand that people are going to be able to understand and vibe with and really associate with you and that you can be proud of, what ends up happening is you get this hydra of different marketing approaches that we're spitballing, we're trying all these new things to try to just get attention or get views and clicks and whatever else. Um, so I didn't like it. It was like a lot of effort. It was super expensive, and I really felt like I was having a hard time defining what our brand was because our marketing, what we were sending out into the world, was just in pursuit of virality. So by taking a podcast or creating a podcast, I'm allowed to take that entire process, simplify it, make it more affordable, make it more long form, because the people, my audience that I'm trying to interact with and nurture is going to be information hungry. They're going to want to be learning about the products that we're selling, which is land. And they're big investments. We're not selling t-shirts, right? And it also allows my face or myself to be a part of the brand. It's like people want to, if they're going to be buying land or buying into my service, they're going to want to know that there's a face behind it, even an ugly one. There's a face behind it and a person behind it that, you know, they can relate to. They can find a little bit of security in this day and age. So there's a number of reasons, but it all came down to like, all right, I just need this big content machine, and a podcast is a big part of that.
I love that. So you started the podcast. How did you decide what you were going to talk about in your podcast? How did you decide this is who my audience is going to be? How did you just put that concept together?
It wasn't easy for what I was trying to accomplish. And I honestly, to be completely transparent, I don't know if I have it fully dialed in yet, because the whole moniker of the land fixer is I wanted to have a brand or an MO that somebody could approach with any sort of land problem. I want to invest in land. I want to sell my land. I have land and I want to work with someone to subdivide it. I don't want to do anything necessarily with land, but I have money and I want to use land as the investment instrument and have somebody else manage it. I have land and I want to sell. All of these sort of things are part of services that I offer. We do a lot of stuff. We sell website templates, we do marketing, we do funding, we buy our own land, we subdivide. We wear all these hats, and we can work with almost anybody in almost any capacity as it relates to land. So by creating a podcast that had this sort of wide, all-encompassing moniker, it gave me the ability to tackle anything as it relates to land that could demonstrate our excellence, our knowledge, our forte in this sort of real estate arena. So, because of that, there's no end to topics. There's really no end to people that I can bring on. I've had everything from attorneys to surveyors to whatever else on my podcast. I've talked about history. I have a podcast I'm doing right now that's about land and landscapes and poetry and art. Fascinating, but it's a big buyer. It's a big reason people buy land. It's beauty. It's appreciating beauty. It's appreciating nature. So it's not a
Yeah.
small thing. And I had to create a list though, which you might find interesting. You probably would like this. Maybe you've done this. I don't know. But I was like, okay, I set a goal of how many podcasts I was going to do in a year. And I was like, all right, well, that means I have to have a laundry list of topics. And I could sit and work and rattle out probably 20, 30, 40, 50 of them pretty quick. But after a while, it just starts feeling really gray, like you're covering the same topic over and over again. So I went to ChatGPT and I like challenged it over and over again to come up with unique topics and structures and ways to integrate maybe something that's just wasn't coming out of my head. It was giving me a whole list of other topics that I'd never really considered, and I found a lot of them very fascinating. I've actually done a few of those topics, so that's a kind of the high level brainstorming. And then I picked some, and I actually had ChatGPT flush them out a little bit, and then I added my own flavor in, of course, and they turned into podcasts.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, for people that are listening that may not be familiar with your podcast, what is the format? Is it just a solo show? Is it only interviews? Do you have a mixture of both? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I do a mixture of both. I started out with really wanting it to just be mostly me, because I really wanted it to be educational and very on topic for each episode. But I found that my audience was responding more to when I would have guests on. I guess I'm just a bad solo. I know, I'm kidding. I don't know. But there's also a benefit as to having other guests on your show, which is you have the ability to tap into their audience. So for a while, I was doing it just my own, and that was intentional. I also wanted to put together like 10 episodes so that when somebody went and visited, it wasn't just my first episode or something like that. I had a little stockpile of episodes that covered a bunch of essential topics. And then you start going on other people's podcasts. You get to spread your brand. You get to get a little bit of recognition from other people's audiences, and that's a very valuable way to grow your own podcast.
Yeah, that's great. So, speaking of growing your podcast, can you talk a little bit about what are some of the strategies that you've done to grow your audience ship?
Yeah. So at first, I wasn't even focused on it. It was like I said, I was like, all right, let's put together some brand content. Then it was having a few guests here and there. The next big launch is going to be taking my huge buyers list, and this is something I've been working on for the past couple weeks. Is how I'm going to introduce my buyers list to my audience in such a way that's going to have the highest level of conversion and with what regularity I'm going to invite them to listen. So we have a pretty big list on our like emails, text message, text phone numbers, around like 25 to 30,000 right now, depending on how qualified you'd call some of those. So that's gonna be a big one. We haven't dumped that yet because I'm trying to build up to 25 podcasts where like anyone can go there and find something useful, and make sure that we have a really fine-tuned system for how we're going to do that, where we're going to send them, how they're going to convert. It's not as simple as it sounds. So that's going to be a big one. And then we have actually been running very small budget ads, $2 a day ads, multiple channels to just try to see. And this is just on Facebook and Instagram. And this is just test the waters, see what sort of conversions you get, see what sort of traffic I get. And dumping them off on the same page on my website. And I use an app called, I don't know why I always forget the name of it, but it's a heat mapping app on my website. It tells me where people are scrolling and lingering and what they're doing on my website, and I'm modifying that before I start putting a bunch of money behind it. And then the next step is going to be running ads on podcasts. We've got our first ones booked to start coming out in the next on the 20th is our first ad rollout. And we're going to be marketing kind of all of these services, but I created a web page called thelandfixer.com. It redirects to my website, and I have all of my services on there. Center point is the podcast, but there's a button for each of the call to actions that I believe my audience is going to respond to. So one's list your land, one is buy land, one is invest in land, one is I have my own land I want to develop. There's different call to actions on the website there, and I'm going to start running a lot of traffic there. So a good part of my time is going to be like making sure people are falling into buckets correctly, making sure that they're getting added to the right segments in my lists and things like this when they're popping through. But the big push is going to be podcasts until I have a certain threshold of clients in my marketing channel, and then it's going to spill into YouTube. And then after that, it's going to spill into, I think, Hulu. I want to advertise on Hulu.
Right on. So, can you tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about if someone is listening to this and they're like, hey, listen, I have a podcast, it's been going for a bit, looking to grow it, haven't run ads yet. Can you talk a little bit about what's the best process to do that and how should they go about running ads or creating an ad campaign for their podcast?
Yeah, that's a big deal. For me, I'm lucky I had the background of already having done a lot of marketing, so I know some of the basic truisms around it. And my favorite thing is I always start with the end in mind. The end in mind is not as clear as it may seem. And that's actually what I was talking to earlier about what is the exact entity of my podcast and the exact audience. Who do I really want to focus on targeting? If you're going to run ads, you really want to know that. You either have to have a big budget, like I'm shooting for, where it's okay for you to run a lot of campaigns to draw different types of people in. But if you're smaller and you're going to have a very small budget or a very modest budget, you want to be as tight as possible. So you want to have your entire podcast dedicated to the exact audience that you're in pursuit of. So that comes down to your name, the imagery on it, the content, even the way like you may have already recorded 20 episodes, but you can rearrange those in different playlists. Like YouTube, you can do this. I guess I don't know if it's the same on Apple uh, podcasts or whatever, but how that stuff's organized, what you're presenting, even like what specific episode you're running traffic to, all of this is going to be geared towards creating the image and the model that is most attractive to the exact audience you're in pursuit of. And once you have all that in mind, and I guess you know exactly who your audience is, then you go to targeting them. I usually suggest starting with social media. Facebook, Instagram, those are usually the two easiest channels to really learn how to do this. But the goal is going to be set aside a small budget to test with, or ideally run 3 or 4 campaigns with small $2, $3, $4 budgets a day, and target who you think that person is. On Facebook, you can target a whole bunch of stuff. It can be age, location, how much money they make, what sort of interests they have, what sort of job they have. It's all really creepy, but you can really hone in on the exact demo that you're pursuing, create an audience, and then you just monitor conversions. Then you actually want to see what's happening. And what I was saying, one of the hard parts is where do you actually send them once you have the ad live? So
Right.
for me, I created a separate web page to do this, but there's other services where you don't even need a website. You can just have a link tree. You can run ads directly to a link tree that just is a little web page that has a series of buttons on it that says, check out my podcast on Apple, on Spotify, on whatever. Maybe you want people to go look at your LinkedIn. I don't know. But you want to know where you're sending them, and then you want to ensure that wherever you're sending them has metrics that are trackable. So you can see how many people are going there, what they're clicking on, how long they're there, are they actually converting? And finally, do you have a way of gathering their information? Ideally, you want to be able to get email, phone number, first and last name, maybe an address. I don't know, it's a little bold, but you want to get some piece of their information so you can stockpile it and revisit. Go talk to them again.
Yeah, that's really good. Now I know that a lot of people that maybe have are not super well versed in like the social media space, they hear run a Facebook ad and they immediately break out into hives. So can you
Mm.
give us some maybe some a quick start guide in terms of what that would look like and what are some sort of foolproof ways that they can go about setting up an ad campaign?
Yeah, so the first thing, if you're just dipping your toe in the water, you're like, all right, if this is completely foreign matter to you, just go to your Facebook page and make a post. That's just like you're posting it to your Facebook. You're going to say, hey, folks, come check out this episode of my podcast. You might not know I'm doing it. Here's a link to it, and just publish it. And then go look at it. And there's going to be a button near there that says boost post. I think it says boost post or promote post, whatever. They change it sometimes. And click on it. And Facebook, oh, they love your money. They want it so bad. They will tell you exactly how to do it. They'll make it very easy for you. They'll say set budget. How long do you want to run it? And I guess I haven't done it this way in a while, but I think it might ask one or two questions about what sort of demographic you want to pursue. And I think now actually Facebook has it down where it will create the audience for you. I'm not exactly sure how, magic of algorithms or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you promote it, you boost it, and you will at least get people looking at your post. That's what it's going to do. It's going to have people, you're going to pay to have people look at that post. And if your call to action is good enough and you have a link to wherever you want them to go, you'll start seeing opt ins, and Facebook will track those metrics for you. Facebook is really cool because I guess I was going more advanced by saying send them to your website, but Facebook is fine. You can just create a page, a business page for your podcast, and you can just direct traffic there. And then on that page, you can have all the links to the different platforms that you might be wanting to send traffic to. And you can do it all in house with them. And they have like an AI chat system that answers all the basic questions for you. You set your budgets, you set your timelines, and you can even tell, because Facebook owns Instagram. You can also just say, hey, I want this on Facebook, or I want this on Instagram. For me, I get real down deep in there. Like most of my ads only show up on people with Apple products. It's
Oh,
more of my audience right now. I don't know. But yeah, you can get very niche as you learn. But yeah, start real basic. Just boost a post, see what kind of results you get.
cool. I love it. And so, what is the typical timeline that you would suggest when people are first starting out testing these different campaigns? Is a week long enough? Is it 2 weeks? How long should you run a boosted post to see if this is a quality post that you want to maybe put more money into?
The real challenge is you can't do it with one. Ultimately, like if you're really going to be a scientist, we're going to be a marketing scientist here. You want to have two or three. This is what we in the industry call split testing or A/B testing or whatever. The idea would be instead of just, you could create, say, one post and test it over 2 weeks. And if you say, hey, it's okay, but I think it could be better with a couple tweaks, then you can tweak it. You can create two very similar posts. One that has maybe a link to the podcast as the first thing, or maybe the second one has some like really, maybe it has an inflammatory statement in here, whatever. Land sucks. I'm never buying it again, or something like that that really draws attention. And we're like, oh my God, I got to check this out. And then you set equal budgets to those and you see which one outperforms the other. And if you find the crazy call to action or the crazy text drew people in, then you forget this other one. You go and you take that one and you split test that. And you say, okay, on this one, I said land really sucks. And on this one, I'm going to say, I'm going to burn all my land. And on this one, I'm going to say, I'm going to whatever, do something crazy. And then you split test those and see which one gets more traction. And then you just keep going down that rabbit hole. And it can be, if you can do really well, if it's just yourself, if you're consistently checking it and spending 5, 10 minutes a day on it, where it was out of control in the past, was I had at any given time, I don't know, 300 different ad campaigns running, all with different split testing going. And you need a whole team at that point. So you need a huge budget. So you would already need to have a podcast that is extremely well monetized, or start with a small fortune to begin with and be very and really know where you're going with the whole deal to spend all that money to do it. But being very simple in a small budget, you can do this modestly. $2 a day. You can split test, that'll give you $4 a day, and you may not get a whole lot of traffic, but it'll be enough. It'll be enough to tell you what's working. And the little pro tip in here is Facebook works really hard to get people who are new to advertising. So if you give Facebook a budget that's really low, from what I've heard and my experience, I would say the algorithm works extra diligently to get you conversions with a small budget. You might actually see a higher return on investment as far as marketing is considered. Usually we'll use like CPMs, cost per mil, or metrics that are like marketing sounding. If you have 5 ads running with a $2 daily budget, then one ad with a $10 daily budget, or 2 ads with a $5 daily budget. So there's some good wisdom in running a lot of ads with a small budget. It's more to upkeep, but it will yield you more information and more leads.
Wow, that's good. That's a great nugget. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned earlier about you using ChatGPT to use like brainstorm some podcast stuff. Are you using AI at all or ChatGPT to help you with ads? Let's say if you were a one-man shop, would you be able to, what are some things that you can think of that you would be able to leverage ChatGPT to help you to do in creating these split test ads and things like that?
Oh, absolutely. I haven't thought about it because I am well versed in this, but if you're coming from just the beginning, like you can go, especially if you buy, I don't know how much it is. I have the whatever Chat GPT 4.0, like the higher end subscription. I think it's $8 a month. It's something. It's very affordable. But if you have that higher one, you can just go in there and be like, hello, my name is Kendall. I know nothing about running Facebook ads. I have a podcast I want to promote on Facebook. Da, 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 da. And you can just spell out your exact situation, tell it your budget, tell it the audience you're searching for, what you want to do, all of that stuff. And then just say, I'm a dummy. I have no experience with this. Can you tell me step by step exactly what to do in order to start engaging with leads? And it'll tell you. It's
Love that.
nuts, but it'll give you exactly what you need.
So good. So you also mentioned about monetizing a podcast. Can you talk about some ways that you know of that people that have podcasts can go about monetizing?
Oh yeah. So there's a lot of ways. If you just are standardly searching to have the biggest audience possible, So when you have a podcast, you're going to have a service that you upload to. I use Podbean. What do you use, Kendall?
I use Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout. Okay, so I use that for my first one. So yeah, whatever, you're going to have a podcast hosting service, and a lot of those are going to have a native ad feature. So once you hit a certain number of downloads, or I guess maybe it's regular listeners, I'm not exactly sure. You can just turn it on, and they will start pumping ads onto your podcast, and you'll start getting paid. Unless you have a huge audience, it's probably not going to be a whole lot of money, but you can be much more effective. Say you did a podcast that had 10,000 regular download listeners, like they're consistently showing up, listening to your podcast, they're subscribed, but it's a very niche audience. You're probably going to have people that approach you, and they're going to be like, "Hey, dude, can you just read this?" Kendall, for example, I have my marketing service, and I go to Kendall, I'm like, "Hey, dude, all right, what is it going to cost me to have you plug my marketing service on your podcast once a week? 10-second blip. I'll record it, you record it, whatever. What's that going to cost? I can't be like 10 million or whatever. But if you have a captured audience, and then there's service providers in that community, which there almost always is, regardless of what you're looking at, you're going to be a magnet. If people know that you have the attention of an audience and you've become an expert, you've become a reliable source of information in their eyes, you are the exact sort of person that people are going to be in pursuit of to market with. I had some great success with this early on in land. I would go out of my way to find really small YouTube channels and sponsor them. I'd be their very first sponsor. They'd be so excited to have me. But it was like a no-brainer, because for me to go talk directly to 10,000 people that are like, for me, I did it when I sold a lot of land in Colorado. It would not be very easy to go speak to my exact clients. I would have to spend a lot. I kept thinking over and over again, how would I get in front of these people? So I went and I found YouTubers that had common interests and were operating in the same areas. And I found a few of them. I was their first sponsor, and they would read a blurb, the first 30 seconds of their video. And it's still up there. I paid some of these people a couple $100, and I've had huge amounts of return on investment. I still get leads off some of these YouTube videos that I sponsored 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Sorry, that's a side note.
No.
But if you create an audience, people find you. And that's really, I think, depending on why you have a podcast, if you are just so impassioned about a product and you're not even considering monetization, just whatever, don't even worry about it. But if you're like, I'm building this because I'm getting rich, then you might want to think about that. Who is your audience? Is it an audience that has money? Is it an audience that other people are interested in getting in front of? And if so, then yeah, it's going to monetize itself. People are going to come to you.
That's fantastic. And in your experience, what's been like, what can a beginning YouTuber that may have, or podcaster rather, that may have a small audience, what can they generally expect in terms of monetization and what to charge? And what does that structure look like?
Oh, man. I don't think I have a good answer for
Can
that.
of
Though I
worms.
do know, yeah, I do know tools exist. I think I've never been in this exact situation. The whole monetization of my podcast isn't actually the podcast itself. It's the clients that I'm educating, it's the people that are reaching out to me, it's whatever. But I do think there's actually websites that you can go into and type into. I would ask ChatGPT. I'd go into be like, how much could I charge somebody if I have a regular subscribed audience of 10,000 people on my podcast, and it's a niche audience? But ultimately, I don't think people do anything for less than $500 these days. So if someone's coming to you and wants to sponsor something, even if you're the smallest fish in the world, I'd start at $500 and go up from there. Nothing else is going to be worth your time. And really, the best way to figure out that exact number is you ask the person that came to you that wants to sponsor your podcast what they're selling. If they're selling something that has a big ticket value to it, say you have a fishing podcast and a guy who sells boats comes to you and his average boat cost is $15,000, $20,000, be like, okay, if you sell two boats, what's your profit on that? All right, give me half of that. Whatever. You could probably figure out a way to just look at their products and what they could possibly get from advertising with you. And really, if you're smart, you don't necessarily go for a fixed dollar amount. I think a lot of people are like, hey, let's do an affiliate setup. Pay me $500 and then 5% of any sales that happen through my link. And that's what I advertise as my link to your product on my podcast. There's all sorts of creative ways to monetize, but I really enjoy the affiliate system for sure.
Yeah, love that. So good. Now, you mentioned about YouTube earlier, and so I'd love to dive into that a little bit in terms of how you collaborate with other YouTubers. Maybe even if you want to talk about how you collaborate with podcasters, that's fine. But let's talk about collaboration and how you use those affiliate relationships to grow your influence.
Yeah. It takes, for real estate, it's actually, I think I would say it's probably more difficult to provide a lot of value in terms of like new knowledge when you are trying to be like a guest on other people's podcasts. And I think that's usually the best way to really tap into their audience. What I like to do is if I'm like, are you talking about like cross-platform? Like I go be a guest on someone's and they're on mine sort of thing?
Yeah, it could be, or like
Okay.
you mentioned, the YouTube ads that, or not maybe ads, but like blurbs that you paid for for your land.
Yeah, let's start with that. So when I've gone and sought out somebody that I want to sponsor for my um, whatever, I've done it for land in the past. I am going to be doing it for land in general in the future, and I actually am doing it. I'll use this as a case study. We are actively doing this right now for a subdivision we have in Tennessee right now. So we've subdivided a 320-acre parcel in Tennessee. We're the money partners in the deal. The other guys are doing most of the legwork on it, but this subdivision is right next to a brand new and worldwide touted motorsports arena.
Hmm.
And it's right across the street from the subdivision is a private airport. So we're like, there's probably some local buyers for this land, but I bet there's these very large, affluent, untapped markets for motorsports enthusiasts and aviation enthusiasts. I started a couple days ago and I'm still going through it looking for YouTube channels for people that have tens of thousands of views or hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm not seeing any ads on there or like red ads where they're actually reading the ad on their webs or on their videos yet. And when you find that kind of unicorn, hundreds of thousands of views is a lot of views if you really think about it, especially if they're sitting and they're visually taking in. It's not very distracted. They're focused in on this video for an extended period of time. That's a lot of eyes to get in front of. But in the world of YouTube, that's tiny. So in the world of YouTube, they're not getting a lot of money. They might be for a couple 100,000 views on a video. They might make, I don't know, $100 or $200 or something like that. But if they have my audience and I go to them and I say, I'll give you $500 if you run this one ad on your next video, or usually you do a little collaboration to determine exactly what video your ad is going to be put on and how it's going to be whatever laid out and everything. But for $500, you can be permanently installed on a video for somebody that your target audience is looking at and spending a lot of time and probably has already spent a lot of time watching their previous content, has already gained trust and all this sort of stuff. And it's a very small demo, but it's very specific to this one property in Tennessee, right? So that's an example of how you can sift through and find exactly what you're looking for. And for us, that's what I found to be the best size for our ad spend budget is in those like tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands per video views. If you get past that, people start thinking they're pretty famous and they start expecting a lot of money for a red spot on their YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, how do you go about if someone were looking to do that process? How do you
Mhm.
go about looking for these types of YouTube channels? How do you filter? How do you do that?
Man, it's so simple. You just think about what your target audience would be searching for. If it's, I'll go back to say the aviation audience, private planes. Go to Google and search what are the five most common private planes that people are buying or something like that. And then you go to YouTube and you just search those plane names. And you'll start seeing specific videos come up. And then you scroll through, you click on a guy, and usually their whole channel is going to be dedicated to exactly what you're looking for. It's because there's so many niches. There's so many people that are so deep in so many niches. You're going to find them. And all you have to do is spend 5, 10 minutes on YouTube. But you're going to be looking at it as if, and really the way I do it, I guess if you're going to be high levels, you're going to open up a spreadsheet and you're going to put the name of the content creator, a link. You're going to take their 5 or 10 most popular videos. You're going to see how many views those videos have. You're going to see how many subscribers are subscribed to their channel. And then you might make note of like how professional they are or not, or do you really want that sort of person representing your brand? You might make notes like that. And then usually on YouTube, there's a button to just reach out to the content creator, and some of them will even put their email, like they want you to reach out to them. They want to make money because they have a big following. So then you just reach out to them and you say, hey, I got money. Here's what I'm trying to sell. Are you interested? And this is the format that I want it. And this is a rough idea of the ad copy that I want read.
Yeah, that is fantastic. That's really good stuff. Now, if someone is listening to this and they're saying, "Hey, I'm a YouTuber. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel so I can maybe monetize that way." Can you give us any like insight into how you would go about growing a YouTube channel specifically?
No, honestly, so my YouTube channel is just a catch-all right now. I do
Got
have
it.
some ideas for it, but this is something that I'm steeping myself in because I'm opening a coffee shop here in Dallas.
Oh,
And one of the things that we're doing is we're documenting the entire build out and we're creating a YouTube channel all around it. And we're going to document every aspect because I'm the contractor. I'm going to be swinging hammers and doing all the dirty work myself, digging, pouring concrete, whatever. So we're going to document the entire thing. And I've already spent a bunch of time, we haven't even recorded anything, but I've already spent a bunch of time to determine a lot of things. How long? Because this is where you get into, you want to have a very predictable product. Most YouTubers are going to have a very predictable format to their videos. They're going to be this long. They're going to have sections, specific music. It's going to be like action B-roll. Like as soon as you start watching for it, you'll see that this is all just production. It's amateur production, and the bigger the get, usually the more professional the production becomes. And you make note of what you like and what you think you want associated with your brand. And I found that the model that I'm going to be using and mimicking in creating my first YouTube channel that I'm actually going to try to make profitable, and it's still going to be marketing material and stuff like that. But I'm mimicking a specific YouTuber, which is they're called Perkins Builder Brothers. They're custom home builders out in North Carolina. And it's exactly what I want my channel to be like. So I've studied, broken down exactly how their video structure is, how long it is. And that's what I'm going to use to create a very predictable product starting episode one. And we did, like we talked about, start with the end in mind. We've already created a whole list of all the videos that we're going to record. We just created a whole plan around it. So we're not guessing every day. It's not going to get lost in the shuffle. We know exactly what to expect. And we have it broken down to like how much footage we need every week, who's going to be processing, who's going to be making the video. It's a complicated process. And I think for YouTube, probably the most important thing is to create a product.
very interesting. What is the audience for this particular YouTube channel? Who are you going after?
It's going to be used for just the local audience that's going to be in my shop. So I want people to be able to see how the shop was built. A lot of folks really enjoy that process. But the bigger audience is coffee shop owners and builders. One of the first things I did when I was looking to open the coffee shop was I went to YouTube and I was like, how do you build a coffee shop? How do you lay it out? How do you decide where to put things? So on and so forth. And there just wasn't anything. Nothing that was quality enough that I would consider fully documenting the entire process. So I was like, if you run into effectively a blank space in YouTube, fill it. Like, because I know I'm not the first person searching how to open a coffee shop.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of conversation, especially like Gary Vee talks about just documenting as a content creation process a lot. So, do you have any other content creators that you really like to follow in terms of learning how to create content, how to strategize your content creation process, all that good stuff?
I guess I've tapped into it. I've seen it. I have focused a lot on how you build an audience, but I think the people that are most successful, it ends up being something that's intangible and difficult to replicate. It's an artistic skill that I don't know I necessarily have. I'm about to find out. Podcasting is one thing. I can look into a camera and yap and do a fine job of that. But when it comes to actually putting together a true production, we'll see. I'm untested, but I'm excited. I think it'll be fine. I know who I'm going to mimic. I know what I like to watch. I know what I think a good product is. So that's what I'm just going to try to pursue right now.
I love it. That's super exciting, man. Like that, I love that process. I can't wait to see how that turns out. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you had done like a lot of social media marketing before.
Mhm.
Um, can you talk about if someone's looking to grow their social media reach, let's say on Instagram, for example, do you know of any ways that people could do that?
Yeah, in this day and age, it's still the pursuit of virality. The idea of having a viral video is what's the big thing right now is that Haktua girl or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
She's turned a one-line throwaway thing walking around Nashville, and she's created this whole career out of it now. And she was smart enough to monetize the hell out of it. You are still in pursuit of that, I would say, to do anything that's going to be dramatic or overnight. Now, one thing I don't know. This might be controversial, but one thing I would say is something that you may want to just steer clear of is so many people think that it's just about regularly posting. And I don't think that's the case when it comes to social media. I don't think it's if I just post a piece of content every day, I'm going to get 2 followers a day, and then in 10 years it'll be worth it or something like that. I do not think that's the case. I don't think that's worth it at all. The return on investment there is not high. Now,
yeah,
if you're creating content so that people go to your Facebook or Instagram and see that you're a professional or see the sort of work that you do, and that's fine. But if your whole goal is I need a huge audience and I need to grow it quickly, then you're going to have to do something extraordinary. You're going to have to do something unique to really stand out. The way that like I was saying before, the way that we did that in social media was constantly testing just the kind of crazy stuff. One of our favorite or most popular ads that we ran in the past was talking about we sold a lot of recreational land. So we were always like pursuing this like countryside, honestly, it was like right wingy vibes. And one of the ads that went really was who would you rather marry? And it had a guy who looked like conservative with a cowboy hat on. And then the other one was there's this rapper named Riff Raff who's got like crazy whatever. He looks wild. He's a rapper. He's got like face tattoos and all this sort of stuff. And that ad blew up. And that was like one of our most viral ads. And all it didn't even matter. It didn't have anything to do with land. But that actually sold land. It got traction. People went to our website. They went and they reserved property. People bought land because of that ad.
yeah.
And it just demonstrated if you get it in front of enough people, whatever you're selling, it will have an effect. Like I said, I still think we're in the day and age of virality.
Yeah, that's really good insight. I want to thank you so much, Logan, for joining us and for giving so much value to us. What are you currently looking for? How can we reach out to you if we want to work with you? Give us the spiel. What are you looking for?
Yeah, heck, if you like podcasts, come check out my podcast. Go to landfixer.com. You can learn all about investing in land. You can buy land, you can sell land. If you own land and you want to work with someone to develop it or subdivide it or make it more valuable, come talk to me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been really cool. Such a cool look into the podcast space and what you're doing. And so I'm excited to see this new YouTube channel for sure. Wishing you all the best with that.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Kendall.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Yep, bye.
Hey there, brand fan. If these insider strategies on building influence and cultivating real community got your wheels turning, like and subscribe for more conversations that cut through the noise and get to what really works. And if you're ready to turn these insights into action, head over to onlybrandfans.com to unlock the next level. Until next time, build something they can't ignore.